What's up, brews and brew dads? It's the PicoDudes, and we're back with another one of our interview series. Today we have with us the inventor of the, and I don't even know if I'm going to say this right, TapRoom Club. Do I need to put a dot in the middle of that?
Well, the web address is actually taproom.club.
Taproom.club, and that was Kechu,
Yep.
correct? Your full name is?
My full name is Kechu Trevino. I'm from Mexico. But in Mexico, if you don't have a nickname, it's really weird. People in Mexico have nicknames. It's like you don't have any friends, you don't have a nickname. So since 4th grade, my nickname is Kechu, and I pretty much like it. So I go by Kechu.
All right. Well, what's your nickname, Sam?
Today I'm going to go by Sir Drinks a Lot.
Sir Drinks a Lot. Sounds good. My nickname was Spike growing up. So there. I have friends.
With Spike?
With Spike. Yep.
I find that incredibly awesome.
Yeah, it stemmed from the flat top that I sported for years.
Excellent. I wonder what my mullet would have got me.
Oh, man. We can do so much with that.
All right. But we're actually here today because we get to talk to the creator, inventor, producer, etc. of the TapRoom system. So before we get into the system itself, why don't you just tell us a little about your brewing experience?
Non-existent, pretty much.
None.
Pretty much.
Thank you.
New at this.
So what got you into it?
Well, for me, there was really nothing out there to help me serve my beer properly. I think as PicoBrew masters, as I call them, we go through a lot of effort brewing our beer. There's a good amount of investment in the PicoBrew system. And then at the end of the line, what you have is either a serving keg, which is unacceptable, or you have a picnic tap out of a ball lock keg, which maybe is a little bit better, but if you ask me, it's still unacceptable. After all that time and effort, I think your beer deserves much better than that.
So after you've created this great beer, simply having a little twist spigot isn't the best way to show off?
Nope.
No.
So,
okay.
So what is your major beef with the serving keg? I know what mine are. I mean,
by the way, we love the PicoBrew product, and we appreciate the attempts to keep the price points low.
Right.
But this is one of those opportunities to improve on what they've already given us. So with the serving kegs,
I agree with that. It's good that the start option for the Pico is having a keg that you can get for $16.
Yep.
And that's awesome because from there on it's $100 or more.
Yeah.
So that's good. And there are ways of engineering into that serving keg some of a better option. And when I was looking at options, I wouldn't find a good option. I actually bought one of these systems. I think it's called the Party Star keg. Mm-hmm. And I tore it apart, and that was my first learning experience. I ordered one, and I knew that I was not going to use it. I tore it apart to learn about it, and then I created the tap room. And it was really just me looking for something that was not out there, and so I just went and built my own.
So were you Pico brewing before you got into the tap room, or did you come by it by a friend, or how did that start?
I think it was pretty much together. Arrived here in Seattle. I really got into craft beers here. It was really growlers first, and again, growlers go flat. So since then, I have this idea, literally brewing in my head. How do I get a small system that allows me to have a growler as I have it and I enjoy it in the tap room?
Awesome.
And so that's where the idea started germinating. I first did a tap room just for mini kegs. As I started then brewing with Pico, I said, hey, well, we can also adjust this to the Pico, either serving keg or a ball lock keg. And that just evolved until where we are right now.
Oh, great. That's intriguing, too, to be able to, as a Pico brewer, have the option to use the tap room also with a growler.
Absolutely.
And be able to switch it up between a ball lock keg and a serving keg, which we're going to be doing later on.
Absolutely.
It's completely plug and play. So, for example, one of the things that I like the most about TapRoom is having it with friends. So I have some friends, some of them are not brewers, So they'll bring a growler of their own beer. I have perhaps 1 or 2 beers there, and we can just plug and play. So we have one growler, we plug it, we serve a couple of beers, then we grab one of the serving kegs, we plug it in, grab a couple of beers, and then if we have another ball lock around with other type of beer, we can just plug and play and have some other beers.
Well, that's great. We're actually going to try that later in our next episode, which will be a review of 2 of the reds that PicoBrew sent us. We are going to be using the ball lock, which is what I brewed and force carbonated my red in, and then Sam's going to be using his serving keg.
Oh, get ready for disaster.
Oh, no.
I've actually force carbonated. I went online and I got the setup from PicoBrew to force carbonate my serving keg. And for the first time, I'm just turning dials and watching gauges, and I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty good. So we're going to have an adventure together. But before we go there, tell us a bit more about sort of how does development work when you're looking to create something. And I think you even mentioned that you saw a similar setup when you spent some time in Germany.
Correct.
And so how do you go about developing something? How long does it take? What steps did you have to go through?
One of the nice things is I've been 3D printing things for the past 3 years. And so I have a 3D printer at home. My background is in mechanical engineering. I have AutoCAD on my computer. So I just think of something, start doing some sketches, then I pass it on to CAD and I print it. And the beauty of 3D printing is the speed that you can iterate. So you can print something, test it, learn from it, and then redesign it, print it again, test it again. In a matter of weeks, you can have 2 or 3 design iterations. And that, as a mechanical engineer, that's invaluable. That's what gets you from an idea into a product in literally perhaps a handful of months.
That is awesome. So how long did it take you from inception of idea to, hey, I've got something I can actually sell to people?
The first attempt at having something was around a year ago.
That's it?
Yes. And then I will say that for the first 6 months, it was more of just every once in a while, I would just dabble on it. But it was literally, I think it was between September last year when I really got into high gear into this idea. And I have on my office, I don't know, maybe 6 iterations of this. Some of them with a combination of 3D printed parts and cardboard and laser cut wood, all the way to what we have right now. And I keep on learning. I keep asking the owners of current TapRoom Club systems what they want, what they need, what they think could be improved. And again, with the beauty of the 3D printer, I can design an idea and then test it.
That it's hard to comprehend that a single person by themselves has invented a system that looks like it came out of a big company, if you will.
Thank you.
And I mean, it's a really attractive system. I saw a lot of different posts on Facebook with people saying, hey, finally a use for my serving keg.
Right.
It's finally a useful tool again. So in the pictures I originally saw of it, I was like, wow, I wonder what company put this together. And so you're telling us it's just you?
Yep, just me.
Yeah, and the cool thing is you can, so there are other like growlers or serving apparatuses
Vessels?
on the market. Yeah, vessels. The challenge is you put all of your beer into one vessel, all your eggs into one basket, and you've got to empty it out, clean it out, and you're completely done. This you can change from one to another. You could have a whole line of serving kegs, and you could have the party of a lifetime with all the brews that you beer. I mean, all the beers that you brewed. I've been having a few also.
It's a requirement of the podcast.
Yes, yeah. So, I think it's amazing what you've done. Sam and I think it looks great.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about that name, TapRoom.club. So where does that come from?
For me, literally was, I like going to tap rooms. And the experience of drinking beer in a tap room, I think beer drinkers, that's what we like the most. And so I like the name tap room. I wanted to bring the tap room experience to your home. And that's where that name came.
So
and then club, because I found that I could do actually a web address called taproom.club. And so I said, okay, that makes sense.
That's the URL that's available.
Yes, exactly.
When I signed up, I thought I was being like exclusive. Like, hey, I'm joining this taproom club.
I can't make a lot of meetings, but
Yeah.
it's going to be a good time. So, I mean, I'm looking at the box, very professional looking box, and I love the big cheers on it. But again, doesn't look like something a person just invented on their own. Can you tell us? Can you tell me, because I'm really new at this? So I just started brewing. This guy Jeremy here has tons of experience.
No.
I just started brewing with the PicoBrew. I'd never brewed a beer before. How does the taproom system work, just in large general terms? Is it a system where it's injecting CO2 or air in displacement, or is it, how does that system function?
The system has two steps. The first one, it helps you condition your beer, or let's call it force carb. When I was working on my first prototype, I was working with a user, Pico brewer here in the Seattle area, and he was talking about how you could maybe make this force carbonation process a bit more quicker. And so we had the idea of force carbing not through the surface as it normally happens right now, but through the dip tube of the keg. And that speeds up the process of force carbing.
And that would be in a ball lock.
In a ball lock or in the serving keg. We've also done it in the serving keg.
Oh, okay.
So the serving keg option also comes with a special hose, so you can force carb through the dip tube. And so that helps. It also, it's kind of confusing because then people maybe overcarb their beers thinking about...
Okay, like me. I felt like such a dip tube myself when I had to call Kechu yesterday, and I was kind of like, I think I might have overcarbed this or done something
Just
wrong.
Covered in beer, just dripping.
I think it's too much. It wasn't quite that bad, but it was pretty bad. So Kechu was kind enough to stop by yesterday, and we were able to sort it all out. But the cool thing about it was fairly easy to get the beer back into equilibrium. And you can maybe talk about a little bit of the features that you have built in to the tap room in order to be able to do that.
So the first step, yes, of course, then force carbonation.
Yep.
It helps you do it more efficiently and quicker. But then the second is serving the beer. And beer has, when you're serving beer, you need to have the beer at a certain pressure. And that pressure shouldn't have anything to do with how you're serving the beer. The beer needs to be at a certain pressure because it's a certain type of beer. Right now, people regulate the pressure so they can serve it properly. That shouldn't be. You should keep your beer at one pressure and then use other parts of the system. It's what people do right now because that's the only lever that you have. What I'm giving you here is two levers. One lever is pressure for your keg, and that should be set depending on the type of beer that you have. And the other one is the flow control on the faucet. This allows you to, even in the case of an overly carbonated beer, to slow down the flow to a crawl. And even with an overcarbonated beer, we were still able to enjoy a couple of beers yesterday.
Yeah.
So by doing this, you have A, you can condition your beer, and B, you can correctly serve it and maintain your beer at the right pressure and still have a great pour, separate from one to the other. So the beer is a Hefeweizen, needs to be at 16 psi. It needs to be at 16 psi, and that shouldn't matter how you're serving it. You have an English ale that can be at 10 or 8 psi. That is its own thing, and you then regulate the flow to have the correct amount of ale in your beer.
How do people know this then? Is there a website to go to, or where do you know where you want to be for your
I right now have a YouTube channel, and I have I have all sorts of beers, and I try to serve them in different ways.
What's the name of your YouTube channel? Give it a plug.
I don't think I have. I still don't have enough subscribers, and I don't have enough traffic.
Well, you have a name though, right? We maybe help
if you search for taproom.club in YouTube, you will find us.
Oh, there we go. There's at least 3 people that listen to our podcast. We're all sitting in this room, but you know what? You just gained 2 people who are going to go try and find it.
Perfect. So I have their different beers, different techniques. For example, the taproom.club system has a faucet that has a creamer action. So for example, one way of serving your beer would be to slow down the flow, so you have very little head, and then at the very end you do the creamer action and you have a nice head on your beer. The other would be to speed up your flow, so you have a lot of swirl in your beer and have the correct amount of head. Depending on the beer that you have, depending on how cold or warm it is, you might choose one or the other.
Would be interesting for you to ship maybe a chart that gives suggestions. Either you or perhaps maybe PicoBrew could include that in some of their.
I had no idea they're supposed to be served at different.
I didn't either.
Carbonation levels.
And I think even with regards to the pre-measured standards, the sugar for keg or bottle conditioning that you get, pretty sure they're all shooting for the same.
It's about the
roughly
same.
the same PSI.
Yeah.
So that's intriguing. I think that would be an added benefit to the fact that when you get a PicoBrew, you get as close to a fresh beer from that brewery as you can get, and the tap room gives you the ability to now get as close to the serving conditions from that brewery that you should have for that particular beer. I think that's amazing.
And I think that link is missing. One of the first iterations that I had at the tap room, I live very nearby to the Foggy Noggin Brewery in Bothell. Mm-hmm. And so I actually took my gear. Yeah. But they make great stuff. And the owner, the brewmaster, I forgot his name, he's such a cool dude. So I went over, I had my first iteration of the tap room, and I just went and presented it to him. And his beers, and he's very passionate about this type of beer, is the English ale beer. The English ale beer has a very low level of carbonation. Mm-hmm. And so it was great to have some pours with him, and he told me, well, you have to keep it at 8, but if you still want some head, then you have to speed up the flow. And so we're looking at different ways of pouring his beer, and I was just getting his feedback right there. Okay, just slow it down, speed it up, decrease the pressure, and until we have the perfect tap pour from his beer with his own feedback right there. So
that's amazing.
That's how we've been developing, and that's how we've been learning as we develop this.
Awesome. Well, Kechu, is there anything you want to add to about your tap room, or do you want to tell us where people can find you, where they can?
I've got a question.
Oh, you've got a question.
Get to that. I do. I have a question because we have to always ask this. What is because you're now a PicoBrew master? Mm-hmm. What is your desert island Pico pack? You could take one Pico pack, like this is what I'm going to get to make for the rest of my life. Can you pick one?
He was pretty impressed with my mermaid's red. I'm just going to say.
It was explosive.
It was so, there is so much persistent, thick cream. Never mind.
I have less than a handful of Pico packs experience. Mm-hmm. One of the best, I think I have two highlights. The first one would be the Dragon's Tooth Stout.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic beer. This one, a friend of mine,
Dilly,
helped. He was the one who shared it with me, and it was fantastic. It was naturally carbonated, and it had stayed at a nice temperature for some time, and it came out fantastic. Okay. The other one, I actually like golden lagers and golden ales, and so I had the Spinnaker golden ale. Really, really good beer. I can't wait for summer so I can have some more of that. I can definitely see, a grill outside with friends and just going through a whole keg of that.
Wow. A whole serving keg of that.
If it's, as long as it's attached to the tap room,
it's okay.
It doesn't care if it's
and it doesn't whatever. It doesn't even have to be a PicoBrew that you attach to the tap room, right? It can be in a variety of containers. It could be
a home brew. You could connect it to a 5-gallon corny ball lock.
That is really neat.
Yep.
When we were building it for the size, we tried, for example, there's the Cannonball ball lock keg, which is a little bit smaller in height, but a little bit bigger in diameter. Then we also tried the Torpedo keg.
Yeah, those are nice.
That is the largest in width that actually will fit the tap room. Okay. But it still fits perfectly fine. And then we tried also with a 5-gallon, and actually the tap room is hanging at the top of the bottle lock. So as long as you have some kind of cooler on the bottom and you just hold on, it actually looks pretty cool because at your size is the thing. Yeah.
Where can people find you? If they want to go look up this system, if they want to see it for themselves or even order one, where should they go?
www.taproom.club.
That seems pretty simple.
That seems pretty simple, yeah.
I'm assuming you're on Facebook and Instagram.
We're on Facebook. We are on Twitter. I still don't have an Instagram account.
Well, we will be posting your
Well,
stuff on
perfect.
Instagram, Facebook, and everything to go along with this episode introduction. Kechu, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come sit with us and tell us all about your product. And more importantly, we're excited to be able to try it on our next 2 beers in our next episode.
Yeah, stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, cheers. I think you got one hidden in here.
I have it somewhere. I don't know.
Right, that's all right.
Right on
We
your
are
chair there.
Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen. And until the next episode, PicoDudes out.
You've reached the end of another episode of the PicoDudes podcast. Connect with us at PicoDudes.com, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And if you enjoyed our show, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, but mostly iTunes. Also, if you want a code that will help give you some discounts off of the PicoBrew equipment, Z150D equals $150 off of the Z series. Pro, PRO 125D gives you $125 off of the Pico Pro, and C75D gets you $75 off of your purchase of a Pico C. We hope you enjoy listening. Look forward to hearing from you. PicoDudes out.